how are we? Yeah, good. Last session of the day. All right, so I got my work cut out for me. Typical product management style. I've gone, over scope with my slides. So we're gonna go at pace. I'm gonna be talking about panic-proof products, grounded, focused, and crafting products that really matter. So before we get started, I just want to acknowledge the Outlook team. They've done an amazing job in putting on an event of this caliber. It's so great to see so many product people out here today, but it's all thanks to the Outlook team. So a quick round of applause for the team. And before we get started, I just want to do an acknowledgement of country. I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we have gathered here today, and want to pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. Cue next slide. The next slide is about me. There's a chance for you to scan a QR code. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, so I'm not gonna go through this list. Hey, my name is Sam. I lead product at Programmer, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today about how to panic-proof yourself, your people, and your products. So I'd love to connect, so please, scan the QR code, come and see me afterwards. It'd be great to really connect. I'm going to be talking about three things today, and there we go. So three things, handbrake on the hype. So there's the hype around AI. We've just spoken about AI this whole entire day today. I am the bookend to George's presentation at the start. We're going to talk about 10x effectiveness is the team sport. And we're going to talk about the heart and science of product and what it means to craft really incredible experiences for our users. So I work at Programmer. It is, I'm going to use all the buzzwords. It is a vertical B2B SaaS platform for the interior design and architecture industry. We sit between interior designers and architects and brands and suppliers. So think about anything where you're buying furniture, a chair, whatever. That is where we sit in between, and it's a blast. It's great to be surrounded by so many people that are so talented and have such great design taste. And I get a lot of questions like, Sam, how do you remember everything? How do you keep track? As a solo product person, it does get pretty chaotic. And truth be told, I was a serial panicker. If there's anyone that can relate to panicking, it's me. Yes, at the top. And in the time that I've been a programmer, we have doubled our team. We've gone through 2 rounds of funding. We achieved 3x revenue growth year on year twice, which is a great achievement, and significantly scaled our product. And it does look a little bit like this. Thank you, dog. And a little bit like this too. Naturally navigating these challenges as a solo product person, can be pretty interesting. So handbrake on the hype. This is going to be just like a full stop right here. We can all go home. No. Who remembers when ChatGPT first launched? Who knows? Yes. What year was it? 2022. Cue next slide. 2022. This is when ChatGPT launched. It has been less than 3 years since this massive, incredible, crazy AI craze has taken off. And we look at yes, I'm going breakneck speed with my presentation. We look at the pace of adoption of other industries and the daily active users, and we can see that ChatGPT hasn't even registered on this graph. In no other technological advancement or time period has there been so much progress and so rapidly. And honestly, your feed might look like this. This is my feed. This is only a few days, and it's so much stuff to consume on the daily. Who feels like this? Yeah. So do I. So what can we do? So there's 3 things in this part on this handbrake on this whole AI hype. 80-20 rule. Who loves Pareto's principle? Yeah, it's great to apply not just to your work, but to your everyday. But what is going to really set you apart is care, and what that really means. Because AI is just so easy nowadays. Who tried this craze? A little bit of fun. I know that it's fairly controversial because Hayao Miyazaki called it an abomination of his art, but it just goes to show how easy it is. This is my motto: use AI but avoid commoditized mediocrity. And what I mean by this is absolutely use it to write everything. Use it. I barely type nowadays. I use it to write my PRDs, and I use it to brainstorm, to critically analyze things. But if you want to avoid commoditized mediocrity, you need to care a little bit deeper. And so, yes, what that looks like is probably a few things. Find your inspiration. I think find the source of your knowledge around AI, the industry, and products that really caters to you. Find a cadence that works for you as well. And these are a few things that you can take inspiration from. Critique the output. I think this is so important as, day-to-day usage of AI. We need to be thinking about what are we actually reading that comes out from the LLM, and is it actually true or has it hallucinated? Are we getting opposing views and getting pros and cons from what we get? Share early and share often. Our teammates are our best critics. I think half the battle is getting senior leadership on board with what you're trying to propose and figuring out if that is the right decision or not. And obviously your parents play a huge important role in that too. And rinse and repeat. What did you learn? How do we do it better? And what can we do next? The second thing with this handbrake on AI hype is human ingenuity. So what I mean by this is, first off, I asked ChatGPT this question the other day, and it was a pretty profound question, I thought, at the time. What is the most profound realization you have come to so far, and why? And the answer surprised me. It said, please understand me, and then help me understand. I was like, wow, I've never, this is pretty profound for an AI to come back to me. But I think it really highlights this like a little bit of a disconnect between what comes out from an AI versus what, we should actually be using. Michael Polanyi is an amazing Hungarian thinker of his time. He coined this term, we can know more than we can tell. And what this is talking about is describing how much of what we know day to day cannot be explicitly explained in words or written down. And it's the difference between tacit and explicit knowledge. I mean, Satya talked about tacit knowledge in her presentation. So it's personal, it's context specific, it's learned by doing and understanding and living. So examples of this is riding a bike, it's cooking by feel, it's going into a meeting and reading the room. All these things are really implicit and intuitive. So how do we use this to solve people problems? Talk to people. And the question becomes like, how do we do this on the daily? So I've listened to all the talks today, all the presentations, and there's, no getting around what people have been saying. Get close to your users is really important and really critical. Oops, go back. It's never a waste of time. I always spend a lot of time in user interviews, and there's never any lack of color of feedback that your users are willing to give you. So lean in is what I say. It's never a waste of time. Oops. Find out what your competitors are doing. I know that Brandon was talking about don't look at your competitors too closely. But I think it's always interesting to analyze and see how other people are solving the same problem as you. And does your messaging connect? You're forming solutions here in your product, in your platform, but then your users are facing their problem over there. How are you making that connection for them? Okay, last thing on this section of the talk is watch for laziness and catch yourself. So we're going at pace, I know. Humans are inherently lazy. I am lazy. And I look at this Charity Majors is a writer and also an engineer. And she had this phrase, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And what this is talking about is just fitting solutions to problems. And I can't help but notice that there are a lot of AI solutions that we have nowadays are just being fit to problems that may not be the most important thing. And my fear is that AI is not going to take over our job. I mean, it might take over part of our jobs, but it's actually going to atrophy our product sense, our critical thinking, how we think outside of the box. So one of the things that I always challenge myself and I challenge other people in product to do is, thinking, how do we catch ourselves from falling prey to relying on AI so much? So the first thing is first principles, PM first principles. I think Matt talked about product management first principles in his talk. I'm not going to go into too much detail on PM first principles, but it is about unpacking the problem, digging deep, cutting it up, finding out and using using facts to figure out what you need to solve for and try things out. The second thing is AI for grunt work and not grand strategy. If you're thinking long term about what a good roadmap looks like for your business and how you can achieve great business outcomes, great outcomes for your users, AI shouldn't be a source of that. I mean, use it to get started, but it shouldn't be a long-term thing. Audit your automation. So I found myself recently, trying to automate a lot of things using AI, and that is also a danger in itself. Am I spending too much time trying to automate it? And also, are the outcomes that I'm achieving with AI, are they actually valuable? And the last thing is to be your own critique. And often, I think it's really easy to get sucked into the spiel of AI and how it sounds on paper, but going to the detail, like really critically analyzing it, it may not often give you the answers that you're looking for. All right, I'm going to keep going at pace. The next thing I want to talk about is how you as a product manager, there are some myths around your output, but being 10x effective is a team sport. So can anyone relate? I think this is quite true for our team anyway, sometimes. And there's a bit of an expectation in the industry where you have to be the 10x PM that the industry is telling you to be. Do more, be more, output more. And a lot of it comes from, the stuff that we read and consume day to day. And, places like Silicon Valley, where a lot of these companies can be, quite rapid. And so, I think FANG is the current acronym, or Mango. All these companies are huge and have massive resources to kind of dedicate towards progress. So what next? There's also 3 things in this part. Communication is key. Clear is kind. Brené Brown, great book. She talks in her book, Dare to Lead, about how communication, whether it's about expectations or boundaries or feedback, clear communication shows respect. And I love how we can apply this as product leaders in our day-to-day, but also to the wider business as well. Honest and transparent. This is really difficult to do, and it's also difficult to own as well. When we're honest and transparent with our team around deadlines, around scope creep, around anything that's uncomfortable to talk about, honest and transparent communication is really key. Ownership. So this is something as well that, as PMs or people in product or design, are we owning decisions? Are we owning up to the good and the bad stuff? Or are we owning up to stuff in the first place? Vulnerability. So this doesn't mean telling all your deepest, darkest secrets. I think, through your communication, it means asking for help. It means admitting when things have gone wrong and sharing stories even when it feels risky. Okay, product is a team sport. Now we're kind of slowly rounding this out. So, who's ever heard of Parks and Rec or The Office? Yeah, great shows. Amy Poehler does a podcast with Mike Schur. Mike Schur is a director, writer of all these shows, and he talks about the creative process behind and what he tries to set up for people that he works with. And he talks about how creative people often are in survival mode versus creative mode, and they are either one or the other. So what his job is as a leader is to create space for people to do their best work, which means creating systems for that to happen, and that really allows people to thrive. And so what that looks like, and which I really take inspiration from because you can apply it to a lot of your teams, is to firstly create this system that he talks about, which is creating boundaries, setting expectations clearly, and also setting goals for your team so that you can actually strive and achieve something. The second thing is inviting people in. So we've talked a lot about today through a lot of other presentations about voices in the room and making sure that everyone is heard, that the people's opinions and thoughts and knowledge and experience is shared amongst the team. I've often found that I've had to be the bad person to ask for someone's opinion, especially from people that are less likely to speak up. And the third thing is to encourage. Not everyone has the gifting of words of affirmation. So encouragement is about shouting out about the wins, celebrating people that have gone above and beyond, and people that have done great work. Okay, so now we've talked about communication as being clear. We talked about how you kind of need the structure so your team is set up for success. We can start talking about turbocharging the team. Once you have your structure, I think it's, I'm not going to go through like a sprint cadence and all of that, but as PMs, get execution down pat, and then you can start looking at what you can do to really extend your team. Ramping up is the next step. We have this thing called firefighting, and I don't know whether anyone else does it. Our QA coined this, and it's been a great way to kind of help prioritize your work. So any feature requests, any bugs, anything that comes through from your customer experience team or senior stakeholders, we triage that on a day-to-day basis, and we pick off any that are fires. Who's ever dealt with fires on a day-to-day basis? Yep. I see you. I hear you. And I found that as like a really effective way. Often you get bogged down with the amount of stuff that you see, that you need to fix. And it's a great way to help with that prioritization. No status meeting updates, bit of a spicy take. If it should be in an email, then it should be an email. And then also establish communication channels with your team, what works best. And especially if you're remote, there's going to be a lot of challenges with that, but not unsurmountable. And the last thing is to turbocharge and take your team to the next level. I have a dev who is really keen on concept design and user testing, and I love that about that person. And I take advantage of their T-shapedness and getting them involved earlier in the discovery process. I also like to spot product thinking and to nurture it as well. So we have 2 CX team members that show really great product thinking. And so they are actually asking product questions to users as the feedback comes through, which is great. You kind of spot on the spot. And the last thing is to say no to more stuff. We should be saying no to more stuff. All right, the heart and science of product. So why is this not hard and science? Art and science is, I like to think of art and science as like you having the creative freedom to kind of solve problems and balance that with science or scientific method. In product management though, there's another added layer of empathy that I think really helps you understand true problems and what it means to solve them. So we will first talk about getting scientific and what this means, because I get this question a lot. I've talked to a lot of people in startups, and this is often the question that people ask. Do you have product market fit? Yes or no? And one thing I realized is that product market fit is a marathon and not a sprint. Georgia was here this morning with Figma, amazing company, like super massive and successful. They only found product market fit after 5 years. There's like a small little 5 years at the bottom there. Now, a lot of other companies have shipped a product and it's been in market, but it hasn't found product market fit, not until a few years later. And it often feels like this. It feels like climbing a mountain is super hard. You reach the top, you're fully elated with the result that you've reached product market fit, and then you fall off the edge on the other side. How to find product market fit is dependent on how you define it for you. And when you define what it looks like, it's best to stick with it. And that's how you iterate through what it means to find product market fit by testing and learning and seeing what works and what doesn't. Sean Ellis has this question that he has posed before. Sean Ellis is like a great product thinker, writer. And he goes, how would you feel if you could no longer use this product? I think this is a great way to kind of litmus test what it means to have product market fit. There's usually 3 responses, either very disappointed, mildly disappointed, or not disappointed at all. If at least 40% of your users have said very disappointed, it's likely that you've got good product market fit. Who thinks they've got good product market fit with their product or their platform or the feature? Who thinks they don't? Yeah, cool. And who doesn't really know? That's also great because I also can relate to all 3 because I think our platform suffers from all 3. Once you've started thinking about what product market fit means to you and you feel like you're getting a lot of traction, it's always key to kind of keep measuring it and monitoring it. It's easy to just like measure once and forget, but we need to think about, measuring customer success stories, retention, conversion, all those things. And I've got the counter here. It's telling me to hurry up. So we need to continuously reassess what product market fit looks like. Send out surveys. Like people are more than willing to give you their feedback. So use that to your best ability. And authentic user engagement as well is so key. Like people want to give you feedback when they are really invested in the product. All right. Last thing is a heart behind the roadmap. So we've talked about science, we talked about measuring it, and we talked about monitoring ongoing performance. I'll tell you a quick story. This is like a bit of a hunch, bit of like a tacit understanding. The head of our data and AI team and myself, like we're very opposing or often different views on what it means to implement AI in our platform. And so he has all the solutions in the world and I have all the problems in the world. So it's about coming together and figuring out what works and what doesn't. So we identified that he said to me the other day, we can scrape information from the internet pretty easily now. And I was like, great. A lot of our users are just manually entering information from the internet into our platform. And to which he said, hold my beer. And he went away. Half a day later, he comes back with a working prototype. No front end, purely back end. And fast forward, 3-4 weeks, we managed to squeeze it in under business as usual / tech debt work, and get the feature out, and is now one of our top performing features in the platform. The whole point of this is we have a hunch, to testing, and see whether it sticks. First thing around how might we embed more heart into our products is to be zoomed out, problem obsessed. I think a lot of people have talked about it today, where we get too bogged down in, say, the small details along the customer journey. So we should be looking zoomed out and seeing what the real opportunities are to help with our customers. Second thing is to trust your gut with caution. I think as product people, we tend to absorb a lot of information, a lot of decisions, and it's difficult to tell someone that I feel that something is we should be going in this direction, or we should build this thing. Always validate it, but I think there's always validity in how you feel about the product. Prototype and measure. This is a great way to de-risk. I think most of you would be using or trying to use Lovable, Replit, Bolt, Figma Make, all these great tools to generate prototypes and just put in front of people. I think is really key. Surprise and delight. Okay, so I think people often think, like a great experience is, born out of nothing or just happens serendipitously. But it's quite deliberate when, it's great to see products that actually prioritize this. So find moments to surprise and delight your users. And balance is everything. I mean, this is like me telling you to eat your veggies after you've had dessert. But finding balance is everything with your constrained roadmap, resources, do what you can. And the last thing is to take a chance. It's often scary to talk to senior leadership and say, hey, I've got this thing that I want to validate or I want to build. Shoot your shot. It takes guts. Don't be disheartened, and try your luck. So we've gone through a few things to not panic, to help with the panic with product management and AI coming in. We've talked about putting a handbrake on the hype a little bit, taking a pause and figuring out what product is actually about. We've talked about how to build, effectiveness within your teams and what that looks like. And then we've also talked about the heart and science product management. My hope is that you take, just one or two things away and really apply it, day to day. So lastly, don't panic. You got this. Thank you.